You wake up in the morning, prepare your coffee, check the notifications on your phone, and head out for another day of work. There's something comforting about this routine, isn't there? A sense that the world will continue spinning exactly as it did yesterday, as it did last month, as it has for the past few years. You make plans for the next decade. Imagine where you'll be in 5 years. Set professional goals. Perhaps dream about that promotion or that business you've always wanted to start. But what if I told you that all of this, all this comfortable predictability that you project into the future is a dangerous illusion? What if the fundamental rules of the game we call modern life are about to change so radically that the world you know today will be unrecognizable in less than a decade? I'm not talking about gradual and predictable changes. I'm talking about a transformation so profound that it will make you look back at this exact moment when you're watching this video and think about how naive we were to believe that things would remain stable. Yuval Noah Harari, one of the most influential thinkers of our time, doesn't just predict this transformation. He points to a specific year, a dividing line in human history, after which nothing will ever be the same. And the most frightening part? That year isn't in some distant, nebulous future. It's right there, closer than you imagine, near enough that many of us will witness this rupture while still in our prime, building careers and planning futures that could simply become obsolete overnight. To understand the magnitude of what's coming, we first need to grasp a fundamental pattern in human history that Harari has explored throughout his entire body of work. Humanity has always lived under the illusion of stability in the moments immediately preceding its greatest transformations. The hunter-gatherers who lived 15,000 years ago couldn't imagine that the agricultural revolution was about to change everything they knew about how humans organized themselves and survived. Medieval peasants couldn't conceive that the Industrial Revolution would radically transform not just how we work, but what it means to be an individual with economic value. And even when these transformations began, most people resisted believing in the extent of the changes, desperately clinging to the idea that the world would return to normal, that things would stabilize again, but they never did. Normal simply ceased to exist, replaced by a new normal that would have been unimaginable to the previous generation. What makes the next transformation particularly unique and frightening is the unprecedented speed with which it will occur. Previous revolutions took centuries, or at least decades, to fully unfold. The revolution that's approaching, driven by artificial intelligence and biotechnology, could reshape all of human civilization in a matter of years, not generations. And Harari has been consistent in pointing out that we're entering the critical phase of this transformation now in this decade, with a point of no return likely occurring around 2030. 2030. Let that number resonate for a moment. It's not the year 2100. It's not some science fiction future distant enough to be abstract. It's only a few years ahead. If you're 30 today, you'll only be 36. If you're 40, you'll be 46. You'll be in the prime of your professional life, possibly with school-age children, with mortgages and retirement plans based on assumptions about how the world works. And suddenly, these assumptions may prove completely obsolete. Around That time marker, according to Harari's analysis and that of many artificial intelligence experts, will cross a crucial threshold. It will be the moment when artificial intelligence systems not only perform specific tasks better than humans, as they already do in many fields, but demonstrate general cognitive capabilities that rival or surpass ours in virtually every domain. We're not talking about sophisticated calculators or specialized algorithms. We're talking about artificial entities capable of genuine creativity, deep understanding, autonomous learning at levels that make human intelligence, for the first time in history, no longer the gold standard of cognitive capability on the planet. But what does this really mean for you, for your concrete life, for the plans you made last night before going to sleep? It means that the foundation upon which we've built our modern identity, the concept of human economic value through work, is about to crumble. For millennia, humans had something unique to offer. Even when machines began to replace our muscles in the Industrial Revolution, we still had our minds, our capacity to think, create, judge, make complex decisions. That was the last fortress of human economic relevance. But what if that fortress is the next to fall? What if, for the first time in history, humans are no longer necessary to perform even the most sophisticated cognitive tasks? This isn't just about some jobs being automated while new jobs emerge in other sectors, as happened in previous revolutions. It's about the real possibility that the very notion of human employment, as we know it, becomes fundamentally obsolete on a timescale that doesn't allow entire societies to adapt gradually. A truck driver might be replaced by autonomous vehicles, but perhaps could retrain as a programmer. But what if programmers are also replaced, and teachers, and doctors, and lawyers, and artists, and scientific researchers? At some point in this cascade of replacements, there's nowhere left for most people to migrate to, because artificial intelligence simply becomes better than us at virtually everything that has measurable economic value. I want to pause for a moment to ask you directly, you who are watching, when you think about your professional future, your career plans, how you imagine yourself 10 years from now, do you really consider the possibility that all of this could become irrelevant? Not because of any failure on your part, not because you didn't try hard enough or didn't adapt, but simply because the fundamental nature of human work changed in ways that are beyond any individual's control? I know it can be terrifying to think about this. We often keep these deep anxieties to ourselves, perhaps even avoid confronting them directly, because they seem too big, too abstract, or because admitting these concerns makes us feel pessimistic or defeatist. But these concerns are absolutely valid and shared by millions of people who are beginning to feel that something fundamental is changing, even if they can't articulate exactly what. If this theme resonates with you, if you've been feeling this anxiety about the future of work and your place in it, share in the comments. It can be as direct as writing which aspect of this transformation worries or intrigues you most. Perhaps it's the idea that your specific profession might not exist in 10 years. Perhaps it's the deeper question of how we'll find meaning and purpose when work is no longer the central axis of our lives. Your voice and your concerns can help others who are facing the same questions feel less isolated in this anxiety. And by naming these fears together, perhaps we can begin to think collectively about how to navigate them. Harari argues that this economic transformation is just one layer of a much deeper and more disturbing change. What's really at stake isn't just the future of employment, but the future of human relevance itself. Throughout our entire history, humans have been the main actors, the protagonists of the story. All the great narratives, all religions, all political ideologies, all social structures were built around the implicit premise that humans are special, unique, indispensable. But what if that premise turns out to be just another useful illusion we tell ourselves? Artificial intelligence doesn't just challenge our economic relevance. It challenges our fundamental understanding of what it means to be human. If a machine can create more beautiful art, more moving music, more profound literature than any human ever created, what remains of the argument that creativity is exclusively human? If an artificial intelligence can demonstrate more consistent and effective empathy than most humans, make wiser ethical decisions, offer more insightful advice, where does our supposed moral and emotional superiority lie? These aren't abstract questions of academic philosophy. They're practical existential dilemmas that we'll begin to face on a massive scale very soon. And there's another even more unsettling dimension to this transformation. Harari suggests that around 2030, we won't just be dealing with external artificial intelligences that replace human functions. We'll be beginning to see a convergence between biology and technology that could divide humanity itself into fundamentally different castes. Biotechnology and genetic engineering are advancing in parallel with artificial intelligence, and the intersection of these technologies promises to create possibilities that sound like science fiction, but are rapidly becoming actual engineering. Imagine an elite that can pay for cognitive enhancements, radical life extension, direct brain-computer interfaces that expand human intelligence through integration with AI. Meanwhile, the majority of humanity might become economically irrelevant, surpassed both by pure artificial intelligences and by enhanced humans who've transcended traditional biological limitations. For the first time in history, inequalities between humans might not just be of wealth or power, but of fundamental biological capabilities. We'll no longer be talking about people who have more or fewer resources, but about people who are, in a very literal sense, biologically superior or inferior. The ethical implications of this are almost impossible to fully comprehend, but the path in this direction is already being forged now in this decade. The year 2030 represents, in Harari's analysis, the approximate point when these multiple transformations converge in a critical way. It's when artificial intelligence will likely achieve general cognitive capabilities equivalent to or superior to humans. It's when the first generation of significantly enhanced humans, biologically and technologically, may begin to emerge in sufficient numbers to create a distinct class. It's when traditional economic structures based on human labor will begin to collapse in sectors critical enough to force fundamental social reorganizations. It's when governments can no longer postpone crucial decisions about how to deal with mass technological unemployment, how to regulate human enhancements, how to maintain social order when the basic premises of industrial society are dissolving. It's the moment when humanity will have to confront, no longer as futuristic speculation, but as present and immediate reality, the question of who and what will be when the technology we created surpasses us. But there's a profound and disturbing irony in this narrative of radical transformation. Harari observes that despite the magnitude of these imminent changes, most people continue living as if nothing extraordinary is about to happen. We continue planning our lives according to 20th century patterns. We prepare our children for careers that might not exist when they reach adulthood. We invest in traditional education based on curricula developed for an industrial world that's disappearing. Our political institutions still operate with the logic of sovereign nation states in an age where the most powerful forces, the technology corporations that are shaping our future, completely transcend national borders. There is a colossal mismatch between the speed of technological change and the speed of social and political change. Technology advances exponentially, doubling its capabilities at ever shorter intervals. But human institutions, our governance structures, our educational systems, our cultural understandings evolve linearly, incrementally, resisting radical change. This gap between technological transformation and social adaptation is rapidly widening, and around 2030, according to Harari, will reach a point where this gap becomes unsustainable, forcing disruptive and potentially chaotic adjustments. Consider the educational system as an example. Right now, in 2026, we're still educating children primarily to memorize information and develop specific skills. But in a world where artificial intelligence has instant access to all accumulated human knowledge and can acquire new skills faster than any human, what's the point of an education based on knowledge accumulation? We know we need to fundamentally change how we prepare the next generations, focusing perhaps on adaptable creativity, emotional intelligence, ethical thinking, capabilities that may remain distinctly human, but making this transition requires completely reimagining not just curricula, but the very structure of how we understand education and human development. And this kind of institutional transformation typically takes decades to implement, decades that we simply don't have before reality forces much more abrupt and disorganized changes. The same pattern repeats in virtually every sphere of society. We know the world is changing radically, but our institutional responses remain trapped in old patterns, and the time to implement orderly changes is running out fast. Harari also points to a crucial psychological dimension of this transformation that's often overlooked. It's not just that the external world is changing. It's that our own internal experience of being human is being reshaped in ways we've barely begun to understand. Consider how technology has already altered fundamental aspects of how we experience reality. Our attention has been fragmented into ever smaller pieces by interfaces designed to maximize engagement. Our social life has been mediated by algorithms that decide who we see, what we see, how we connect. Our emotions are increasingly modulated by content streams, optimized to provoke specific reactions. And this is just the beginning. The next generations of technology promise even deeper integration between mind and machine. Direct neural interfaces may soon allow thoughts and emotions to be monitored, recorded, potentially even externally modulated. The line between what is authentically you, your genuine thoughts and feelings, and what is technological influence or even construction may become increasingly blurred. In the near future, you might no longer know for certain whether a thought you're having, an emotion you're feeling, a desire you're experiencing arose organically from within you or was subtly induced by technological systems with which you're constantly interfaced. The very notion of an autonomous and coherent self, a fundamental premise of almost all Western philosophy and psychology,